Hello people, this is last night's question time from Edinburgh, a very unique one, question time yet again at it. So without any time wasting, let's get on to the first question.
First question from Eric Holford, please. Eric Holford. Is the link to the Labour Manifesto an attempt to drag Britain back to the nightmare that was the 70s?
Right, the first thing I'd like to make clear to everyone, that person who was asking that question is, I do believe, Eric Halford. Now, Eric Halford is a sitting, yes, he's actually a Tory sitting councillor. That was not made clear on question time, which I think is extremely low. There was also another councillor that made a comment, and he was talking about independence. I think he was the one talking about independence. He was Alex Elson or something. Both of them is the Clydesdale East or something, I don't know. But I just cannot believe question time's done this. I haven't got a problem with councillors being in the audience, but my issue is, if they are councillors for any political party, questions time should make it clear to the audience, and most importantly the public who's watching this programme. It is an actual disgrace to not just the system but to the public, to the country, to try and make out that these people are just part of the audience. They're not. They're part of the political system. They're a councillor, and that should be told to the British people is wrong. And as for the question, well, a typical question time question really, let's spend 40 odd minutes attacking Labour passively. Passive attacking of Labour, innit? It's absolutely disgusting. I just cannot believe that question time did that. Yes, people. Eric Halford and Alex Olson is Tory councillors, and they were given airtime as if they're part of the public. I'm sorry, they're part of the system. They're part of they're councillors, and that is responsibility, and they shouldn't be treated as if they're just any Joe average of the public. You know, it's disgusting. It really brings the programme to an unbelievable low. And yeah, it's Tory councillors, but I'm saying even if it was Labour councillors, I would be saying exactly the same thing. Doesn't matter. This goes beyond party politics. This is about being honest to the public, and question time is just proving themselves to be dishonest to the maximum. As for the question, does this leaked Labour Manifesto take us back to the 1970s? Well, I was born in the 1980s, so to me the 1970s was more my older brother's age. So, but I'm guessing all the troubles and the unions and all that, and the problem with that is you've got to look at it in the context of the wealthy. The wealthy is the ones that creates the jobs. They're the ones that can pull the jobs away from people. So I think we're in a position where the unions are nowhere near as powerful as they were back in the 1970s. And Maggie Thatcher made sure of that she totally destroyed the unions back then. And I think the wealthy's got such a grip on the workplace, especially the private sector workplace, that I don't think it would. Even if Corbyn did get in power, the wealthy would just... It depends. That question depends on how far Jeremy Corbyn would be willing to go. And I don't think you can answer it 100% until Jeremy's in that position. Do I think Jeremy would back down to intimidation? I don't think he will. I think he would turn around to wealthy owners or wealthy business and say, well, if you wanna take me on here, fine, go. I think Jeremy would turn around and say, well, go. and take your business with you. We'll just get another company in to do what you do. And there's nothing that a company can do. That's why I think Jeremy Corbyn would be great as Prime Minister. But the negative overtone on this programme, and I never thought that BBC and the Sky News would be doing the same narrative. But it feels exactly like they are. It feels like they've teamed up and they're feeding the public the same narrative. It's a very passive and a very clever narrative, and it's all negative. It's negative overtones, and it is just really disheartening, because I think it really does discredit democracy. The media and programs like this should be giving people an honest view, not a negative overtone of one side over the other. It's just wrong. And I can't believe they spent over, I think it's over 40 minutes on this particular question, and not one question about the Tory fraud. I'll keep saying that again. Well, I know that's been sorted now, and none of the MPs are going to be charged. So that's all out the window now. This programme's got away with debating that altogether, which I think is disgusting, again, for the country. To have a political party getting power by breaking the rules, that is disgusting, and Tories got the money to get away with it. Right, I'll move on to the next question.
Another question. This one from Paul Goodall, please. Paul Goodall.
Will a Conservative advance across Scotland halt a second independence referendum?
Conservative.
Right, so if the Conservatives does well in Scotland, I think Scotland people needs to wake up and realise that the SNP is feeding a line that Scotland's not being listened to. Well, I'm sorry, this general election is down to Scotland. If Scotland continues to vote SNP, there's no question in my mind that we will have a Tory government. And that feeds in to the SNP great, because the SNP knows that a Tory government would make it far easier to gain independence. So when you hear like the Tory party, oh well, SNP's in bed with Labour. No, I'm sorry, but in a very weird way, SNP needs Tory party and the Tory party needs SNP. The Scottish people needs to vote Labour, because SNP can never form a UK government. So I'm sorry, it's a wasted vote. It's a wasted vote. If you feel part of the UK, voting SNP is a wasted vote. If you're for independence, then obviously you're well within your right to vote SNP because you're for independence. I totally respect that decision. But understand, please, that by voting SNP, you're giving the Tory party the keys to the government again. And as it stands at the moment, you're still part of the UK, so you will still be hit by all the nasty cuts. SNP can only do so much in the dissolved government without passing on some of these cuts. The Tories will come in and they will cut massively. Be in no doubt about that, people. That's what I would be saying if I was Labour. I would be saying, well, we need Scotland to vote Labour, because it's essentially the Scottish people's got the power. They can either elect a Labour government or they can continue with their SNP, but then if you continue with your SNP, essentially you're voting for independence, because we will get a Tory government, and the SNP party knows that and they love it. They need a Tory government, because they know once they've got a Tory government, the people of Scotland are way more likely to vote for independence, which is what their goal is, and that's why I do not like them at all. Their goal is to split Scotland away from the UK, and I think that is disgusting, because we've got such a long history as a country. You know, it's just so sad to see. I hope they comes out and votes for Labour, but you know, when you've got all this propaganda by the mainstream media, and then on top of that, up in Scotland, you're going to have SNP propaganda, it's just more likely that most Scots, I guess, going to keep voting SNP. And then the Tory party will be laughing because they're getting power and they don't care if Scotland goes. They don't get nothing from Scotland anyway. So, you know, right, okay, that's that. Question number 3 now.
Please, Emilio.
As a young person, why should I find the UK an attractive place to live after Brexit?
What do you think, actually, yourself?
What do I?
Right, I think the UK, after Brexit, I don't think that's going to be. It's going to be a slow and painful process. There's no question about that. It's going to be a very slow and painful process, and you know, yeah, I don't want to leave the EU, and not, you know, there was only a 2% swing, something like that. So, you know, and a lot of young people didn't want to leave. So the future is the young people's future, and I hope the EU understands that. You know, the generation is going to come up. One day they're going to get older, and I think there's going to be an overwhelming push to join back in. But what makes our country great is the fact that we're welcoming and we've got law and order. And you know, it should apply to everyone, but you know, the Tory party is a special case because they're wealthy, so we can't go there. They're special. They can get away with doing anything, but everyone else lives in a fair country pretty much. So, you know, I think that's what's going for the UK is overall we are a fair country, and a lot of people wants to come here, and you know, again, whoever's in power, innit? You know, Tory's going to turn us into a cheap, privately run country where the wealthy controls everything, and the government, I don't know what the government will do. They'll probably just drop more bombs in the Middle East to make money. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a hard question, to be honest. I am struggling with that question, so it's not an easy question. Right then, people, that was the last question. Thanks for listening, and until next Thursday. I hope next Thursday it is a better question time than tonight. And like I said at the beginning, I am still disgusted by the fact that they tried to pass off two Tory councillors as members of the public. I'm sorry, no. I will say it again. If you're a councillor, you're part of the political system, you're part of the process, and people should be made aware of that so they know exactly where you're coming from. It shouldn't be kept away from people. It's disgusting, it's underhanded, it's nasty, and it shouldn't be allowed on any political party. Labour, any of them. You know, if it is, it's wrong. I'll leave it there for now. Until next time, ta-ra people.